Welcome to my YouTube channel. My name is Jacob Ferguson, and it is time to talk about RuPaul's Drag Race Season 16, Episode 4. Now, this episode, they were tasked to do RDR Live, and category on the runway was Night of 1,000 Shares. But before we get started, and you know I hate doing this, please hit the notification bell if you want to see more content from me, as well as the subscribe button. I would really appreciate it. Now, let's dive in to the episode. So at the start of the episode, Hershey Liqueur is gone to begin with. I think it was a sad elimination, but it was, I guess, well deserved, though. Again, I think Geneva could have gone home and it would have been okay, but Hershey is gone, and we get a lot of, workroom tension based on the Untucked last week. With Amanda Tori versus Plain Jane. If you have been following Amanda Tori on Twitter like I have, we know that she's a mandatory mother because she's been shutting Plain Jane down left and right on Twitter, which I just think is great. Don't let her win. So, yeah, she's been doing great. And then RuPaul comes in, and of course, there's no mini challenge. Why would there be? And she basically says that for this week's Maxi Challenge, they're doing a repeat of the last All Stars season, which is RuPaul's Drag Race Live, a parody of the sketch show Saturday Night Live. Now, I watched Saturday Night Live, religiously back in 2016, when Kate McKinnon was doing her Hillary Clinton and Alec Baldwin was doing Donald Trump, and honestly, it was so fun. But nowadays, I just have stopped watching the SNL. The only parts that I do watch are the news segments. I think that Colin Jost and Michael Che do a really good job, but that's beside the point. Let's get into what these girls were doing. Obviously, I can swear now because it's 2 minutes and 10 seconds into the video, but I'm not going to quite yet. This episode was a mess. This episode was an absolute train wreck. My brother and I watched this, and he said that he would send all of them home because they all did bad. And while I don't necessarily think that that's entirely true, I agree that this, and all acting challenges really, there's only been two that I think have done really well, that being Daytona Wind in Season 14 and Season 7's acting challenge, Santa School for Girls. The rest of them have just been mediocre to absolutely cringeworthy. Yeah, I don't think that this one really is the worst acting challenge we've gotten, but it was pretty bad. So let's get into it. We're gonna start with the winner first, Miss Plasma. Plasma won, and honestly, good for her. She played Barbara Streisand in the Barbara Shop Quartet, even though there was only 3 of them. They made an excuse for why there wasn't a 4th member, but honestly, it wasn't a funny excuse. So, she did the most accurate Barbara Streisand portrayal I think that has been on the show. There's only been 2. Manila Luzon did her for Snatch Game, and while yes, she did win Snatch Game, people said that she shouldn't have. So, I think that Plasma did Barbara Streisand pretty well. I love the references to Funny Girl, I'm the greatest star, don't rain on my parade. I wish there was a little bit of a more thing to Hello Dolly, but that's just me. Hello Dolly is one of my favorite Barbara Streisand films. She did really well, and I thought that she was going to be in the top. I didn't know necessarily if she was going to win, but she did a good job. Honestly, none of them really did winning performances for me, but if you had to pick a winner, I'm glad it was Plasma. Her Night of 1,000 Shares was dark and mysterious, which I think of Cher like that, but I don't think of her as horror or macabre. It's more black. Just a dark black suit and stuff. When I usually think of Cher, I usually either think of Turn Back Time or her in a black pantsuit. I don't know why, but that's immediately what comes to mind. Or her in Burlesque. So honestly, Plasma's look was really pretty. I enjoyed it. It's a cream for me. We're creaming and crunching again. It was a cream for me, and her performance was also a cream. there's only going to be 2 creams here because obviously, so if they miss on the runway but they don't miss on the actual thing, then here's the thing, none of them really missed on the runway, so they all get creams from me, but their challenges are going to be crunches. Let's go to the next high placement, which is Q. So Q played the brick thrown at Stonewall. Now, if this was an improv challenge and she had gotten that character, I believe that she could have taken it so much further. But because they'd already written the script out for you and it wasn't funny, I did not laugh. Q for me was not in the top this week. I think that she was just safe, if not even low. I just thought that this performance could have been so much better. So, sorry, I had to get chocolate milk. I was thirsty. But as for Q's performance, again, it was bad. But her runway was really good. I enjoyed it. It was the most glamorous Cher that I saw on the runway that night. Apart from Plains, but we'll get to hers. It was just really pretty, and I'm very proud of Q. That being said, do I think that she should have won this challenge? No. Which I'm very glad she did not. But, like, from the way they were hyping her up in the actual, like, edit of the show, I thought for certain they were going to be, like, she was going to be laugh out loud hilarious. I knew that she wasn't going to win, but next up, let's talk about Plain Jane. So this was the Jimbo thing again. She was the Jimbo character. They basically redid the characters of Jimbo and Jessica. Oh. But this time for... Sorry. But this time for building decks, not lawn care. I have to say, it was pretty bad. I'm going to eat something. Well, I may not eat them yet, but I'm going to eat them after recording, so. She did okay, but again, it was the same character that Jimbo played. I don't think either one of them should have been in the top / even won their challenges on the seasons that they were on. Plain just played Jimbo, but again, and Jimbo did not deserve to be in the top in the first place. They were like, you were so understated. I'm like, yeah, but that's what you gave Jimbo last time. You gave her the same critique. And then she won, and I was like, if she wins again, I don't really care. I'm going to throw a hissy fit. Her runway was really glamorous. But, again, Plain is kind of sort of knocking it out on the runways. I think that last week's runways, she was bad. But, you know, yeah. Next up, let's talk about the bottom 3. First up, Maya Amon LePage. Now, she has been in the bottom 3 twice. And I feel bad for her, but I also get it. This performance was not that spectacular. And on the runway, it's also going to be a crunch for me. I said all of them get creams. I forgot her runway even existed. It was just meh. I didn't really enjoy it. I liked her Cher impersonation that she did. You know, that will live on forever, but I just did not like her performance tonight. I thought it was a little bit misguided, but I also think that the cold open type thing was not very funny to begin with. So, would I have necessarily put Maya in the bottom? Yeah, if it was the bottom 3 that it was, she would have been at the bottom. But, I mean, they saved her for some reason, even though she had one of the worst performances on the runway tonight. Let's talk about Geneva Carr. She was the worst. So when the topic of South Carolina came up, my interests went, oh God. I'm from South Carolina. So, I do not like Lindsey Graham, obviously, but when they started talking about Lindsey Graham, I'm like, okay, how is Geneva gonna make Lindsey Graham funny? And here's the plot twist. She didn't. Geneva, Geneva's was the worst. I'm sorry, it was. She just stood there like the entire time, like looking like the looking like she was gonna go talk to a manager at the Costco, just with that like horrendous Zack and Cody's mom wig and like or Madame Hooch wig and just horrendous. I felt so bad for her, but on the runway she looked good. I think I agree with the judges that it could have been a better figure, but she looked good. But that performance, it just didn't work. It did not work. Talking about Mirage next, Mirage shouldn't have been in the bottom two or even bottom three. I think that she should have been safe. She played the host, which I do think she should have just gave Saphira the role, and gone with the Barbara thing because being the host puts a lot of targets on your back. And I don't think that Mirage necessarily. I knew she wasn't going to win the season. Let's be completely honest here. But I think that she could have gone farther if she had just been quiet and allowed Saphira to take her place. So that way Saphira could have knocked it out of the park and she could have been safe. But yeah, I just don't know. I don't think that she necessarily hit all the marks that she was trying to hit, but it wasn't offensively bad. And even on the runway, she wasn't offensively bad. I'm going to get into her runway later, but it was a cream for me. I enjoyed it. But I'm going to get into the belief that RuPaul needs you to know everything going out of the gate in a minute. Let's talk about the rest of these first. So, starting with the Barbara Shop threesome, both of them did okay. In fact, the problem is that I don't know who else could have been in the top three besides a mandatory and Plasma. But if I had to pick one, I think it might have been Saphira, though she really didn't get Barbara Streisand. I just both of them did okay, but again, the script was god awful. So by the time that you got to that thing, you were waiting for like a release of some kind. Just like let me go, please. So both of them did good. I guess they're soft creams. They are cottage cheese level creams. It's not the best. Megami did well. I was surprised. And her runway, she should have been in the top three. I'm going to put Megami in the top three because her runway was my favorite. It was Turn Back Time Share. It was great. She did really well. I really enjoyed her. Talking about a mandatory meeting in Dawn, I think that a mandatory meeting should have been in the top three. I think that she definitely did the best of the two news anchors. And I do think that Plasma would have made a good news anchor. But then Plasma won as Barbara, so I was like, good for her. She and Dawn did okay. Dawn was safe. She did enough to be safe, in my opinion, but she didn't really wow me. And then the cold open girls. I think that Morphine and Tsunami did okay. Honestly, their sketch was the worst sketch out of all of them. Just for how, like, bad it was with Geneva and Maya just messing up. So, honestly, B for effort. I mean, they didn't even really try that much, but F for execution. I think that they really didn't do that well. Let's just quickly go over RuPaul being so specific with his references. I saw a tweet this morning that was like, RuPaul shouldn't host RuPaul's Drag Race because he expects you to know all these old, like, Stone Age references. And I saw a lot of people defending RuPaul, and I have to say, I agree. As queer people, if you get on the show, they give you a list of things that you need to know going in, usually. Like, if there's going to be a challenge referencing a specific movie, they will usually give you that specific movie to watch. Like, reference it and go, listen, watch this. I have no doubt in my mind that Mommy Dearest was on the All Stars 8 one, because everybody knows what Mommy Dearest is. If you don't know who Cher is, or Bob Mackie, or Barbara Streisand, and you are doing drag, or at least have some knowledge of them, or at least have performed one of their songs in drag, it is kind of an upset. So if you don't know who Cher is, you need to know who Cher is. Now, I don't necessarily agree with them having to know everything about Cher, but they need to have some explanatory thing. So I disagree with the comment made on Twitter. I think that people need to know who these people are. They are pillars of the queer community. You know, they're not as big as, say, Judy Garland and stuff like that. Somebody that you definitely need to know. But you need to know who they are. Cher is somebody you definitely need to know. Barbara, not so much. You know, I'm a Barbara fan. I enjoy Funny Girl and Hello Dolly, and I also think it's funny that Walter Matthau despised working with Barbara Streisand, and so when he went to a horse track, he did not bet on a horse named Hello Dolly. In fact, 1 minute. I love Hello Dolly so much that I have a Hello Dolly poster. My brother got this for me for Christmas, and I have not put it up yet. But as you can see, Barbara Streisand right there. I love Hello Dolly, okay? Look at that. So, I need to be very careful with this. But, you know, not knowing who Barbara Streisand is okay, but look, I'm a huge fan of hers, okay? So I will, So, knowing your references is very important. It is very important that you know your references in drag. That's my point. I want you to know that. So if you don't know who Cher is, you need to know who Cher is if you're going to be on Drag Race. Let's move on to the lip sync. They lip synced to Dark Lady, something that I absolutely loved. Geneva, I think, did a very good job, and Mirage did a very good job. However, halfway through the lip sync, you could tell, because Plasma pointed it out, each time somebody doesn't know the words, you have an Asia O'Hara type thing going, she don't know the words. And it's like, okay, we get that. We can see that. The Mirage does not know the words to Dark Lady, which is fine. You know, if she's going home, she doesn't know the words, that's fine. They cut to RuPaul's face, and she's just at Mirage, just like, you could see the writing on the wall when she didn't know anything really about Cher, or when she got the reference wrong. You could see RuPaul's like, okay, well, we're just going to stick you in the bottom, because you obviously can't be on this show anymore if you don't know who these people are. So that was a lot. That was a lot. I do feel bad for Mirage. She has a mental breakdown, which I didn't get emotional at. I got more emotional at Juicebox's breakdown because it happened during the critiques. It was when Juicebox was getting, like, horrendous critiques because the people in Canada's Drag Race did not care about your mental health well-being on season 1. So they would just, attack people with critiques. And Juicebox was one of these, and she just had a mental breakdown. Mirage's mental breakdown, I'm like, okay, I feel bad for her, but at the same time, it's actually a way. I mean, it was sad, but then she left without an exit line. And usually that would be a big, like, how dare you? Like when Dahlia Sin did it, or Ginny Lemon did it, it was like a big F you to the show. Mirage did it because what could she say? She was already saying enough as is with her thing. So for them to take it as like a mean spirited type thing. She was having a mental breakdown. Let her go. It's okay. I'm gonna miss Mirage. I think that she could have gone further, but because she didn't, she didn't. So that is my thoughts on this week's episode. Next week, it seems to be a girl group challenge, so that will be fun to watch. And I'm hoping that we get to see my top four. Who is in my top four? Nymphia, Dawn, Saphira, and I'm gonna say Q. Also next week, by the way, it seems Amanda pipes up against playing Jane, so that's gonna be fun. I'm wondering if anybody's gonna use their immunity next week. I'm not quite sure. This has been my time. Remember, have a good day. See you guys around. Bye.